You can't force chemistry. It's either there or it isn't. And a lot of times, I mean, like the morning show, the power trip, it took a long time to kind of find that groove and the people that we have and even the contributors that we have.
Minnesota icon Mark Rosen adds to his radio resume by becoming an official beaut. Joining us to talk broadcast life, power trip, and hot mic situations. Sorry, Tim Peel. Plus, drink it up, hockey fans. March Madness is in full effect. Presented by SotaStick, brought to you by BettorEdge. This is episode 66.
Bardown Beauties jerseys are back, as are a number of other amazing designs found exclusively at SotaStick.com. Newly released 1980 scoreboard t-shirts and restocked North Star State logos. Toss down that Bardown Beauties code at checkout for free shipping on all items at SotaStick.com. Hello, everybody. We back. Episode 66. That sounds kind of cool, too, right? I like 65 better, but 66.
I still can't believe we've, done this many episodes. Every time when I'm, editing and putting stuff on social media, double checking, I'm like, have we really done this many episodes? It's hard to believe in a little over a year we've had that many. I don't know. It just blows my mind every time I see it.
And you know what? We have never had really a bad hot mic situation that I'm aware of.
No, don't jinx us. Something is going to happen now.
I needed the segue, Alexis.
I know you did.
About the hot mic.
Respect the jinx, Jesse. Respect the jinx.
We do. Reminder, we have guest Mark Rosen. He'll also talk about some hot mic situations, but let's dive right in. As everybody knows, NHL has indefinitely suspended, fired, what have you, official Tim Peel for making a comment during the Nashville Predators Detroit Red Wings game earlier this week, which basically said what I think we all knew, that the refs are kind of always looking to even up penalties or give teams certain different advantages. But he got busted, and, unfortunate for Tim Peel. That's it. He was going to be set to retire here in April. He had a very long career, been a part of the league for a very long time, and was a pretty respected official as far as I'm aware. But he out. Alexis, what do you make of that situation?
I feel like my opinion on this is kind of a hot take, I guess. I kind of put a thought out there on Twitter, and I got some responses insinuating people didn't really agree with me. I have really no problem with even up penalties in hockey. It's kind of an unwritten rule. It happens to and against every team at some point throughout the season, right? It's not like this was a one instance kind of thing. And it was oh my God, an even up or no call. This happens almost every game at one point or another. And it's just kind of an unwritten rule. And because of that, I was I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with even up penalties. And here's kind of my reasoning for it, because I know there's people who are probably getting really mad right now. My reason for it is that, no team, I don't care who you are, how good you are, plays a perfect game. You will commit a penalty at some point throughout that game. Now, if the referees catch it when you commit that penalty or handful of penalties, sometimes they will miss calls. They don't have eyes in the back of their head. There's only however many of them on the ice. And so, penalties will go missed accidentally sometimes. So I have no problem with an even up call, because the referee probably missed a more blatant one earlier on in the game that they just didn't see. And that's kind of my take on it. I know it's probably a bit of a hot take. It's unfortunate it had to happen this way, because, you want to protect the integrity of the game, and you can't really let something like that go unpunished. I don't know if this punishment was the one they had to do, but
the NHL was super swift on it, probably swifter than they've done on other decisions for things. So I would agree. I mean, as I said, we all know what happens. I think if you've ever watched a game and right or wrong, and certainly it is, you want to keep that integrity pure, right? You don't want it. You've seen situations in the past year or two where a call literally decided the game, and that sucks, especially if that was a call made just to make up for an earlier call. And at the end of the day, though, nobody's perfect too. I believe I read an article about an official kind of coming out and saying there's going to be a time where officials aren't going to need to be on the ice because the game's too quick and you can't follow the pace of it. So it can be really difficult to see that. I mean, I know the Twitter officials and the couch officials that we love to say, hey, it was this. Well, we have replay and we're watching it from an angle that the officials don't. So not excusing Tim Peel's comment or behavior at all, and good on the NHL for doing what they do. But I'm curious to see what this then changes about the game or how this affects anything future.
And I just want to add to quickly that I think people are mistaking even up calls and even up penalties with like make-believe penalties. It's not, it's still a penalty, but it maybe would have been a softer penalty, or had it happened at a different point in the game, or if this team hadn't already had 4 penalties for the game, they might not have called it. They're not just pulling penalties out of their ass. Like these are legitimate penalties and things that are happening on the ice, but maybe we're on the softer side of a call, or maybe would have been, let slide. It's just like, think about an overtime. You have to commit a murder to get a penalty in overtime, right? Like there's these little unwritten rules about the way that penalties work and the way teams are penalized and all of that.
And I like that.
I like that too.
Let them play in overtime,
let it happen.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate what happened to Tim Peel. I understand keeping the integrity of the game and that a punishment in one way, shape, or form had to come from this. But I'm not, up in arms about it like some people were about the instance. So.
I mean, it could certainly affect maybe a bet that you would be making on a game.
It could.
Might have you. Shout out to our one of our brought to you by sponsors, BettorEdge.com. Don't forget, if you guys go and sign up for BettorEdge, which is a great new locally based platform, which has kind of got a social aspect to it, which I personally really like. Like, I can engage with people. I can have one-on-one competitions. It's a lot different. Alexis and I are going one-on-one with the Hobie, if you missed last week's episode. But BettorEdge kind of makes it all about you, all about the consumer. You can get a free $10 when you sign up at BettorEdge.com. That's BettorEdge.com. And use code BEAUTS, BEAUTS, and toss that down. So shout out to them. It's a really cool platform that they're using. Be sure to check it out if you want to gamble, make a little money. Hopefully the officials are not jinxing you in any way in that situation.
Or Jesse's not jinxing you, because she's on a jinxing streak so far in this episode. So we'll see. But yeah, I did see that they were making changes to like some betting platforms of like who's going to get the next penalty in the game after all of this happened. And it was just, hockey fans and hockey Twitter and whatnot went kind of crazy with it in good and bad ways, but definitely an interesting situation.
I mean, and there's lots of hockey games to watch, lots of hockey games to bet on. We are, as always, recording this on a Friday. NWHL kicks off the Isabel Cup this evening. NBC broadcasting that, so that's very exciting. Plus, you have NCAA men's hockey. All systems go. It's not the Frozen Four just yet, but it is. The tournament begins. All 5 Minnesota Division I teams. Super exciting. Be sure to stay tuned for segment 3, where we throw a little shade towards some of those Minnesota teams when we take a look at this week's Up for Debate on who's going to be out. And then the Minnesota High School State Hockey Tournament as well. The sections are wrapping up. My Matamita Zephyrs are not defending themselves, and
it's okay. It's okay. You had bragging rights for a year. That's something to be proud of.
I mean, it's probably good that I never have to put my Letterman jacket back on and be that person again. But
yeah, we had enough of the Zephyr pride for a lifetime when they did what they did last year. So yeah, state tournament time, NCAA tournament time. NWHL hockey is back. It feels closer to normal than I think we felt in a very long time. Just all the options. Like, I have more than one hockey game I can watch tonight, and it's not a rerun of a game from 10 years ago. Like, how awesome is that? So yeah, obviously, like Jesse said, recording this on a Friday. Hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this, the Whitecaps have claimed their second consecutive cup. That would be really awesome. But we'll see. If not, this will be a sad day to listen to it. But yeah, rooting for them. They play in a semifinal game Friday night. Championship game is on Saturday, all on national TV, which is awesome. And a lot of Minnesota schools, college level, doing awesome things, and the state tournament coming up. I'm sad because my high school broadcasting season came to an end last night. We did we had our last hockey game on Wednesday and our last basketball game Thursday. So normally we cover the state tournament, but we couldn't do it this year because of COVID restrictions. So that's too bad. I'm just happy the athletes get a chance to play in it. Forget about my selfish reasons for wanting to be there and cover it, but I'm happy that they have a tournament because that was up in the air months ago, and now here we are. So.
Heck yeah. And we will talk more about the NWHL in this week's Cues with the Beauts. Be sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube. It will also enter you to win a $50 gift card from SotaStick once you subscribe. So be sure to shoot us a screenshot of that and check out Cues with the Beauts. Again, with this being released on Monday, unfortunately, we don't want to dive too much into it, but Cues will cover all of your NWHL needs. It's also the perfect time to watch other hockey because the Minnesota Wild get a very much needed 3-day break. They just wrapped up 10 games in 18 days, 3 straight wins for Mr. Cam Talbot, 11 wins at home, 7 wins at home for Cam Talbot. He is undefeated. But where did the scoring go Alexis. That is my biggest gripe. These games and these 3 games that they won at home, 2 against the Anaheim Ducks, 1 against the St. Louis Blues. You guys have seen our previews, seen our breakdowns, but I wanted to really dive into more than 2 minutes of it. It seems like since the dismantling by the Colorado Avalanche, which was a 5-1 game and a 6-0 game, which they just did to the Vegas Golden Knights last night too, mind you. So
it makes you feel a little better, right?
Feel better. But I mean, it seems like they now are afraid to score. I mean, it's a very different team, and gritty wins are good wins too, right? You can't win them all 10-0, but I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, it's first of all, I just want to say, how awesome is it that for, I think, the first time ever, we're recording an episode on Friday and the Wild won't have a game in between now and Monday. So this will actually stay relevant for a little bit longer than usual. So shout out to the NHL scheduling for lining that up with our
I made a call.
days.
I was just like, hey, we got it. We need
please.
Help. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a much needed break. You could kind of see in the last week or so that it was getting a little bit tougher. You know, the wins weren't coming as easy. They took a couple big losses to the Avalanche, who are a very good team, but they just didn't look like they were in those games. And so this is a much needed 3-day break here. And I think that I don't think we need to be overly concerned that the Wild haven't scored, 4 or 5 plus goals in each of the last handful of games, because you're not going to have, 5-goal games every single game. Even the best teams in the league, even if you are on a bit of a scoring streak, you will have games where you do have to grind it out a little bit more. And maybe the puck luck isn't there and the bounces aren't there. Maybe the opportunities are, but you just can't get them in the back of the net. That is going to happen from time to time. It's just a matter of making sure you don't turn that into the only way that you have to win games, because grinding out a game night after night can be exhausting if you have to do it for a long time. So yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it. What I'm very excited about, if there's a silver lining to not having the scoring right now, is that it's giving our goalies a chance to shine. And we have seen in years past that the Wild haven't always been able to get those wins where you're relying on your netminder to win you these games. And think about the St. Louis game, where St. Louis put how many shots on net compared to the Wild finished with 11 shots on net. So you needed Talbot to come up big in that game because the Wild got a couple goals. They just weren't getting the opportunities. And so you needed Talbot to be able to shut down the Blues, and which he was able to do. So
quite literally, not
quite literally
1 goal. Right.
Yeah. So if you can, you're not going to score a bunch of goals every single game. You will have 1, 2, 3 goal games over the course of a season. It's in those games you need your netminders to shine. And if they can do that, then you've got a good balance. And I think we've seen the Wild have been able to do that here over the last few games.
Can I just ask a question? To me, it always seems like who wins in playoffs, it's this equation though, isn't it? It's having top goaltending that steps up and a defense that is absolutely shut down.
Well, yeah,
right.
because Go ahead, Jesse.
You've always had, defense has never been Minnesota's problem for their entire existence. That's never been the issue, but it has. They've never had good goaltending, except when they did, then they do tend to go far, right? But you ride that hot hand, and it's so crazy to see, like, you have goaltenders that come out of nowhere come the playoffs, right? Right now, the
Jake Allen
are getting and I thought it was funny. Cam Talbot pulled kind of a Jake Allen last night. I mean, it was kind of a little bit seemingly out of nowhere. I think that's what I loved about that game in particular for him, because I know when we announced that he was the starter yesterday, so many people were like, what about Capo? What about Capo? And you're right. Capo is still an awesome goaltender, and this is not in any way a slight to him. But one, Bill Guerin brought Cam Talbot here to be a starter, to be a number one. They have been very fortunate to have Capo step up and be the goaltender that he is. Capo's also still a rookie, and he's not used to playing these games like this. You still have to be very careful in that respect and let Cam have that. I think Cam's always, it's not that he's lacked confidence, but he had some injuries, and he kind of, had a tough go so far this year, a little bit, if you ask me. COVID as well. COVID kept him out for a bit. But to see him kind of get that shutdown win against St. Louis, and to do it 3 straight games too. I mean, because he played well in the Anaheim wins too. So I loved that for him, because I think it's giving him more confidence. So Fred, back to, I guess, your initial question. Absolutely. I just think when it comes down to it, you're still going to have to face a Colorado team who's going to put 6 goals on you, and you still need to be able to score. And I think that's why everybody was so excited and energetic about offense finally coming to fruition here in Minnesota, because that's what they've been missing, right? It's never been an issue necessarily. Even their goaltending last year, sure, we could point to last year saying, see, that's what bad goaltending gets you. But your defense has always been stout. Every team that comes and plays the Wild know that. But yeah, they need to find, and I think they started to a little bit. Sure, they only had 2 goals and they only had 11 shots, but you could see Kevin Fiala's hunger starting to come back. I think he needs to step in. And again, they need to just shoot more. I hate saying that all the time, but good God, they need to shoot more. Like, it's sometimes they are trying too hard to be fancy because they can, right? Kirill Kaprizov has taught a lot of these players that, hey, we can kind of be pretty too, and we can do highlight reels.
And if it works
you can
once,
also just shoot.
Yeah. And if it works once, you think, oh, let's do that again. Let's do that tic-tac-toe play again. It's like, well, yeah, that's great. And if you can make that happen and score, that's awesome. But there's easier ways sometimes and better ways to put the puck in the back of the net. And I think as well, another thing that led to a little bit of a stale scoring here for the Minnesota Wild, despite picking up 3 wins this week, is their top line wasn't producing at the same level as it had been all season. So they went a little bit stale, which caused the Wild's overall scoring to go a little bit stale. We saw that pick up a little bit better against the Blues, but those couple Ducks games and the Colorado games, they were a little bit more absent than we've seen them. So that'll happen over the course of the season. Just got to find a way to get back into a scoring streak at some point, and just don't let the 1, 2, 3 goal games pile up over the course of weeks, because that will start to cause you some problems.
I mean, it'll still get you 2 points. If it still gets you 2 points, then fine. But yeah, I
if they win 1-0 for every game the rest of the season, that's fine. Just get the win, but it's not going to come that easy.
No, especially again, I hate to always go back to it. You point to the rest of their schedule. They're done with LA's. They're done with. I mean, they are done with their kind of cupcake.
They've got 7 games against St. Louis still. They've got another series against Colorado.
At them. I mean, David Perron had 9 shots on goal himself. Tarasenko, who's finally healthy, had 7 shots on goal. I mean, and Jordan Binnington's not going to give up some of those pretty goals that we saw from Marcus Johansson, Kirill Kaprizov either. So, I mean, all in all, there's another level that they need to get to. It's funny because it seems like they're working in bits and pieces. They found the scoring bit right away, right? And then now they're finding the defensive bit. And it's, you need them to kind of come together. And I think they'll get there. I'm not hitting the panic button by any means. I was so excited to see scoring and for it to have gone away.
But hey, the power play. The power play is rolling. The goals may not be there, but they're all power play goals right now. They've got a handful of them. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
There's good things happening. Like you said, it's kind of just working through those little things. As we've mentioned, the Wild are not the greatest team in the NHL right now. They've got steps to take before they become a really, really good hockey team. And they're working on it here and there, which then kind of pulls back some other aspects they were maybe doing well because they're more focused on other things. So just have patience, Wild fans. Enjoy the wins. Enjoy watching Kirill Kaprizov, and just keep rooting for them to finish off the season strong.
We're going to take a quick break. We are going to come back with Mark Rosen's thoughts on the Minnesota Wild, as well as talk about K-Fan and the state tournament, everything that Rosie brings to the table as a Minnesota sports broadcasting icon. We'll be right back.
We want you to help us design the next line of Bardown Beauties Teespring merchandise. What pod-related bit should we toss on some gear? Stay tuned to our social channels, and in the meantime, continue to shop current lines at Teespring under Bardown Beauties.
We're back. Now joining us, a Minnesota icon greater than the cherry in the spoon, greater than the state's 10,000 lakes. Everyone knows him, Mr. Mark Rosen, or better known as Rosie by all of you power trippers. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well on this Friday. It's great to talk with you guys. This is a lot of fun. Bigger than the cherry in the spoon. I'm basically across the street from that because I'm right by Loring Park. So on a clear day, as they say, I can pretty much see the cherry in the spoon, and it's a great landmark here in the Twin Cities.
Exactly. I think you're pretty much a landmark. I mean, you're technically, I'm going to put it in air quotes, retired, but you certainly don't seem retired. You are busier than ever. What's going on there? How is the retired, not retired life going?
Well, I think that's a word that I don't think a lot of people really want to embrace. I mean, I know friends who, literally retire and they go sit on a beach or play golf every day. I'm not that type. And most of my friends that are even a lot older than me, guys like Lou Danny, they just keep going. I think you have to have a purpose to get up in the morning. And that doesn't mean you have to work 60 hours a week. I mean, I'm very gratified that I'm not doing nighttime television anymore. I mean, it was a grind. Sometimes I look back and go, I don't know what the hell I was doing to myself. Working early in the morning with the knuckleheads at K-Fan. And then, I ended up doing Common Show. Then he'd be going home at 3:00 and I'd be going to work just to kind of start my day and get home at 11:30 every night. And, it's a wear and tear part of it. So I don't miss that at all. But I think it's important for finding other ventures, finding other things. And certainly KFN's offered me that. And the Vikings hired me to do the Kirk Cousins show, and they hired me to do a bunch of stuff on Sundays, and hopefully with the return of fans next year. So, in this world that we've all been going through the last year, kind of finding new challenges. But, I've also had some personal health challenges with my wife. And so that's been really difficult. But, you have to find you have to keep moving. I guess that's my motto that I get up with every day, no matter what the world throws at you. You got to keep moving. And I think that's the thing that words that I kind of live by.
It keeps you young, right? It keeps you young.
I'm surrounded by people that invigorate me. I mean, all ages. Certainly the people at KFAN. We've been blessed because, unlike a lot of people that haven't been able to leave their house and live on Zoom calls, a select group of us have been able to go to the station and be there every day since this started. So half a dozen of us, whatever it might be, we get to actually have interaction, and it's kept me sane, even though they are all insane. Say that, but it honestly, they're great friends, and I don't know what I would do without them. And having that personal connection has been, because I think people just want to hug it out right now. I mean, everyone is just want to go someplace and sit at a ball game, going back to the XL Center, whatever it might be, and sports, and in particular, certain sports have this community feel to it, and you do bond even with there's strangers sitting next to you. Watching Kirill Kaprizov score a goal, I guarantee you people will be high-fiving and hugging it out and going, man, you believe what you just saw? I mean, that's the shared feeling that people are missing out on right now that I think we all look forward to.
Absolutely. I got to say, last night with Kaprizov's goal, we're recording this Friday, obviously following a 2-0 Minnesota Wild victory, there were scattered fans that stuck around afterward, and there were just those little, let's go Wilds and woos. It's a Thursday night too, so I'm sure there were a couple beverages consumed, but it was like, gosh, I feel for fans missing out on this Minnesota Wild season in particular, right? Because it's Kirill Kaprizov in person. I know, Rosie, you got to get to the X and come watch him in person, right?
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, my daughter's a huge hockey fan. We go more than people know. I mean, you talk about the fans missing out. How about Kaprizov missing out? Right. I don't think he has any idea. I don't know how he could, of the kind of buzz he's causing in this town right now, and the roars of the crowd. Imagine, it's amazing the Wild have won all these games in a row without having really any fans in the stands at home. But to hear what fans would be, how they'd be reacting to him, I bet he'd be floating on air. He has no idea what he's causing in this town right now. Either does Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, he didn't know, and Anthony Edwards of the Timberwolves. We got some great young stars in town, but Kaprizov in particular, with the 18,000 fans at XL, you can imagine what the reaction that he'd be getting right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, what has been your thought on this Minnesota Wild team so far? We've talked a lot about, is it okay to be excited about them? Is the hype legitimate? Are they actually a better team than we maybe thought from what you've seen of this team so far this season? Are you excited about them?
Well, I think you have to be excited about them. I think they're going to be slotted probably. I mean, the way things are going right now, a top 4 team, which gets you in the playoffs. And, I think they got a reality check last weekend when Colorado took them behind the woodshed. And really did a number on them. Although the Wild have beaten them twice this year, but I think it's many playoff series of the Wild have been in, and they haven't been a lot lately. But it's all about goaltending a lot of times. And right now, the way Talbot played, and obviously Kähkönen, I mean, they have the best maybe 1-2 punch they've had that I can recall. Maybe going back to even 2003 when they went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. So they got solid guys, a defenseman obviously getting Dumba back, and Brodin and Suter still doing his thing, but it's, there's a weakness at the center. There's a weakness still in the power play. They need more scoring from different lines. I think Kaprizov could use a little more help on his line. But, I really think that Bill Guerin's got a pretty good handle on what's happening with his team. And trading deadline's still coming up. I think they can make a legitimate run. I don't know if they're quite ready to make a Stanley Cup run. I wouldn't say that yet. But they got a great farm system. But you got to like and embrace what's happening, because they're not an easy team to play against and to look good against. And I think that come whenever the playoffs start, it's hard. I can't remember. They're going to be a tough out.
You know, you have been able to cover so many amazing sporting events and so many amazing moments in Minnesota sports history. I'm going to ask it, is there one that stands out in particular, that whether it's just a personal connection for yourself or something really cool as a fan when you were a kid that you finally were like, wow, I get to do this? Or is there a person even that maybe made an impact on you?
There's a lot of them, Jesse. I mean, I think number one, I mean, I've talked about it a lot. And in fact, I just, on my own podcast a little while ago, I did, you know, being at the Miracle on Ice, you know, I mean, I went to Lake Placid in 1980, you know, not thinking that the hockey team was going to be the big story we were going to cover. And even though I grew up with a lot of those guys, pretty much all the Minnesota guys on the team, how do you top that? I mean, you don't. I mean, they'll never see another sporting event like that I witnessed that Friday night when they beat the Russians. And even all these years later, being around these guys and understanding what that means to them 41 years later, that's from an event standpoint and what was going on in our country. I grew up where people were protesting the war, Vietnam War on campus. I never saw people wave American flags for patriotic reasons. It was never there until that night. And I really believe that USA, USA chant did begin that week in Lake Placid. But from an event standpoint, absolutely that was it. And Herb Brooks in particular. But there's so many big personalities. I've been blessed to be around people who've really motivated me. Bud Grant, I mean, kind of like a second father to me. Harmon Killebrew, Kirby Puckett, guys who have this passion, and I think a lot of times people get caught up with the money right now more than ever. And I don't think they realize a lot of times, really, these people, they love the game. They love to play. They love to compete. They love to win, and they love to please their fans. And I think that's, I can go down a long list of people who I've admired over the years and still do. I mean, and the next generation too. I mean, I hated to see him go, but pretty close with the Jason Zuckers of the world, and obviously his family and seeing
the Jasons or the Carleys. Let's clear that up then, right?
Oh, I forgot. That's right. He's married.
Yes.
And it's all about but their family. Yeah, there's a great story about when their son was born. How I got to the delivery room basically right. The baby was born. I got there before Jason did. But it was, Carly, come on in. I went, no, this is a little awkward. It was fun, but and what their family has done. I mean, I think people who give back to the community, even if they get traded, Jason and Kyle Rudolph in particular, think about those two that stand out. But there's so many, and I think you can't hang on. I mean, I have these amazing memories. I mentioned Lake Placid and the Twins and the Viking games, the people I grew up with. But you don't want to just hang on to those memories. Like I said at the beginning, you just have to kind of keep moving. And the next generation I can embrace and be impressed as much as I can from the past.
Would you say that, all of these things that we've been talking about here, the excitement of sports, the people you meet in sports, whether it's your coworkers or the athletes or the coaches, that's what makes it so hard to walk away from it when you quote unquote retire, right? I mean, it's not your typical job. You're not going to sit at a desk and answer emails all day. You are doing so many fun and exciting and unique things compared to a typical job. Is that why it's so hard?
It is. I mean, the only thing I really miss from live television is doing like the live reports when you literally, the crowd is still there. The game has just ended, hopefully a winning game. I've been in a lot of, unfortunately, I've been in a lot of games that have been heartbreaking, and in every imaginable sport, from the Twins to the Vikings to the Wild, it doesn't matter. But the rush of adrenaline you get when you're doing a live report or my live half-hour Rosen Sports Sunday show, when you don't have a script in front of you, and I kind of got a feel of that again this past year with the Vikings doing post-game shows, and you don't have a script, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. I miss that, and I still have that. But the rest of it, I honestly, I've been really enjoying watching the Wild games on television. I really haven't had any other option at the moment, but I don't mind being a couch potato once in a while either. I had my fill of a lot of it, and I still get my fill of having that buzz just enough. But I don't miss the unglamorous part of television at all. I mean, I know Marnie Geller. I was talking to our friend Marnie Geller the other day, and she got caught in a situation where she was interviewing Edwards, and there was a technical. But I mean, it looked like she cut him off, and she's getting ripped on Twitter. The knuckleheads on Twitter. But it's like, no, people understand. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. Technical people who involving with your podcast, and anything can happen. And live television is live television, and hopefully it works most of the time. And I was really fortunate over the years. We didn't have too many big glitches, which is really a credit to the people that I work with.
Right. And shout out to Marnie, who managed to go through that situation where, didn't the feed completely cut out on her? So she just kind of guessed how long it would take him to answer the question. And apparently he wasn't done.
No, it was awkward. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I wish someone else in a different authority position could have explained, hey, look, Marnie didn't cut off Anthony. She lost the audio and video feed. And, that stuff happens. Look at time I'd be standing in front of the camera, and it's called mix minus. It's basically you're hearing yourself in your earpiece 2 seconds after the words come out of your mouth, and it's absolutely. I don't want to. I guess I could probably swear. It's bleep
for it.
Distracting as hell. And anytime I had that, I had a rule of thumb. I literally say bye-bye. I get out of the camera range until that's fixed, because unless I absolutely have to go on the air or I lose communication. You don't want to leave yourself hanging out there, because the people at home don't know. You look like the ass sitting in front of the camera going, why isn't he talking? Well, because I don't know I'm on the air. It doesn't happen often, but I always had a rule of thumb, especially with mixed minus, going, you got to fix this, because you have to literally pull your earpiece out of your ear, or you got to concentrate so hard to hear yourself think about the next sentence you're going to say. But those things happen.
I know. Have you had a situation? I know obviously the NHL just had a big issue with the hot mic for their officials. Jonas Brodin threw Mr. Kevin Gorgoff with dropping an F-bomb. Have you had a hot mic situation or something like a Burt Blyleven where you didn't realize you were quite on air and it was fuck this, F that, anything like that?
I always had a rule of thumb about, even getting set up on before the live shot would go on. Every time I put that mic on my lapel or whatever, I assumed that someone could be listening, and they were listening, but they could be on the air. And I kind of had a rule of thumb never to swear when I had the microphone on me. And I still kind of, even in the radio stations in the morning, we look around and think, and I've sworn plenty in the morning. I hit the make sure the buttons are off because it leaves you exposed, because you got no one to blame but yourself at that point. But so I never swore on the air. I had a couple. My favorite one, I think, of interviewing AJ Przinsky after the Twins won the division, and I was they let us in the clubhouse. One of the rare times they let us in there to do interviews after the game. I was interviewing AJ, and Common still plays it once in a while, and I go, AJ, congratulations, you won the division title. Yeah, you tell that goddamn Common man at KFN that he doubted us, and look at us now. But one of those things. And I went, AJ, we're live on the air. Oh, sorry, Rosie. I was like, but in the course of, again, a long career, there were very few times. I did a lot of live television where people I've interviewed would drop an F-bomb or something. So I've overall been pretty lucky, but I've come close.
Well, and you've done a lot of TV in your career, but also now starting to delve more into the radio side with the things that you do with K-Fan and the guys there, who are all so much fun to work with, as we both know. There are very similar things, but also a lot of differences between radio and TV. How did you manage that transition, and what are some of maybe the biggest challenges you deal with between radio and TV?
That's a great question. I mean, I think, I was able to start radio actually. I started at KQRS with Tom Bernard before Tom started. My son was born in December of '85, and I started in January of '86, doing a little 3-minute updates. And that just blew up into this craziness between me and Tom, and that got me into radio and became number one in the market and all that. And then, I had a falling out because WCCO Television didn't want me on KQRS anymore. So they made a big stink about it, and I had a career decision to make because TV was still paying the bills basically. So I left with the WCCO radio, which was fine. I get to work with the best in business, over there, including the late great Sid Hartman. But I learned, you just have to trust yourself. Radio is wonderful because there's no script, there's no filter, there's just you. And I think the thing that I learned over the years, that television took a long time for me to be myself on TV. I mean, you try to write conversationally. I tell young reporters, you got to learn how to write conversation like you're talking to your buddy in a bar, hanging out, talking about the wild or whatever. Don't make it sound like you're this person on ESPN just spit to facts. I mean, talk to us. Don't broadcast to us. And I think radio enabled me to really fine tune my personality and just be yourself, because you don't have a choice. And if you have that, and the one thing I learned is that you can't, and management has to understand this too, you can't force chemistry. It's either there or it isn't. And a lot of times, I mean, like the morning show, the power trip, it took a long time to kind of find that groove and the people that we have, and even the contributors that we have. I've been working with Common for, God, I don't know, 20 some years now. And every day I walk in there, he makes me laugh. I mean, he gets me going, and it's sincere, and I'm pissed off at him, but it's who we are and how we react to each other. Because I think if the audience was uncomfortable with the way you were talking with each other, and I've got into it with a couple of guys in the morning show about different subjects, but then they would be uncomfortable as well. And you don't want the audience to be uncomfortable. They think, oh my God, it's like I'm having a fight with my best buddy here. I'm going to leave the room. You got to be professional about it. And I think that's the one thing that I still love about radio. I go and do Common show here an hour, and I don't know what the hell he's going to ask me. I mean, I have ideas in my head, but it's his show. I don't force the format, and we rarely run out of things to talk about. But I think the reason people connect with us are different. I worked with, I have some of the biggest egos in the business, and you got to find a way of, going around the backside sometimes, or and being a good listener. Common accused of me not being a good listener, but he's full of shit.
That surprises me. Common, full of shit? No way.
So, got to be a good listener when you're interviewing someone, because I think that's the key. Because I think all of us are guilty sometimes. I think, what's the next question I'm going to ask? And you're not listening to the person and reacting to what they're saying. So long-winded answer. I love radio. I always loved radio, even when I was doing TV, because people found out about the real me, as opposed to a 3-minute sportscast, where you don't really have that much of an opportunity to show your real true side of yourself.
Right. And I mean, you had mentioned it. There's the chemistry on the power trip, obviously, in the morning. You're a large part of that. Did you ever foresee the power trip morning show being as huge as it is? I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable, the amount of success that you and all of those guys have had collectively year after year too. It's not just a one-off thing, right? I mean, it continues to improve upon itself almost every single year. Did you foresee that happening?
There's no way. I mean, we had a lot of bumps and bruises with the morning show, the course of time. And I give credit to certainly management as well. Chad Abbott, the program director, and Greg Swedberg, and those people, to understand what I was just talking about, that you can't force chemistry. You can't force certain people to be in roles that they're not comfortable with. And they found the niche, and they got the main guys. I mean, to see the development of Corey Cove as kind of the ringleader, and Chris Hockey as the producer and instigator, and Meat Sauce being Meat Sauce, and then the rest of the people that come in, no one could have foreseen it. But the key thing for them is that, yeah, they're an all sports station. And as you guys know, PA has a totally different show. He does just basically sports. And it's great, whether he's talking about the college hockey tournament this weekend or interviewing Vikings, and he still has a lot of fun, but it's different. Common could care less about certain things, and he admits it. He goes, look, I'm not going to talk about NCAA college hockey. I don't care about it. There are other people who will. So he just says it. And Barrero's kind of, the linchpin. He's the guy that kind of holds things together with his own style. But the morning show in particular, no, because it can be, as breaking news, it can be rather juvenile. And you have to kind of find, again, being an elder statesman, you have to kind of find your own niche where I'm comfortable saying things that kind of fit who I am. And yet I don't want to try to be, the cool guy that's trying to hang with the 25-year-olds at a bar. It's like, no, it's just, you got to kind of find your niche. And I think people understand that about me and where I fit into things. And, it's amazing chemistry. It really is, because they know how to play off each other so well. Chris Hockey's really good at that as well. So I have a blast. Every morning it puts a smile on my face when I walk in there. And some of the stuff, I just gut laugh. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, the sound bars that they hit, the buttons they hit, it's just the things I've said that continually that they run into the ground, and it makes me laugh to this day. And it's just, but again, you can't force it. It just has to be, as Corey Cove says, organic. And that's really what it is.
Oh, and since you mentioned the soundbar, are you happy that the Beavers are in the NCAA tournament then? Because I'm sure that is going to get played plenty if they continue a run deep into the Frozen Four.
Oh, that's going to happen. Very happy for Bemidji State. Very happy for all the Minnesota teams, actually. And this is, on a serious note, this was Herb Brooks's dream. I mean, when he after coming back from the Olympics and the North Stars and everything, he wanted a lot more Division I hockey schools in the state. And man, he would be smiling down right now, looking at all, not just St. Cloud State, obviously, but I know there's some COVID issues going on. Just reading what Michigan's out now, and it's just kind of great stuff happening. But I would root for Bemidji State, and I'm sure if they win the Beaver, that'll be played uncomfortably too many times.
You know, you had mentioned, and I know I tweeted this last week after the announcement that all those 5 teams, and it was Herb Brooks's dream. I mean, what were the conversations that you had with Herb during your time as a broadcaster? I imagine you had to have a pretty good relationship with him. And for me, that's one person. If I could interview anybody in the world, he's the guy. And I'm so unfortunate that I haven't had that opportunity. But tell us about your experience with Mr. Brooks.
I mean, I go back with Herb, certainly at the University of Minnesota, and then when he took over the Olympics in '80, I mean, he was good to me, and he gave us access that he didn't give anybody else really at Lake Placid. There were a few other reporters, like John Gilbert was kind of he was the beat reporter, was Tribune, and was, you know, he was on his hip the whole time. But Herb just had such an understanding of the direction that he felt the game should have been going, and I found that out even afterwards when he was doing the state high school hockey tournament with us. And I was kidding Louie about it because Herb would be such a student of the game and understood. And he was pissed off the high school league a lot. He thought the restrictions were too tight, and he wanted more kids to get more opportunities to play more games, whatever it might be. But I mean, he would be such a student of the game. Like between sessions, we'd have a little dinner session, and he'd be drawing power plays that Edina or Hill Murray or someone should be running, and Louis would be making reservations at Mancini's to make sure he'd get over to eat. But he loved the amateur game, and he was so good at analyzing it. So, I mean, I really came full circle with him. I mean, I covered him in 1980. In 1998, I went to Nagano, Japan. The last time CBS was in the Olympic business. I get there, he's coaching the French national hockey, the Olympics. I went, Herbie, what the hell are you doing here? We don't even understand what you're saying half the time. How in the hell are they going to understand it? And interview I did with him in Nagano, and he loved to teach the game. And here's the legendary Herb Brooks, Miracle on Ice. I mean, they'll build statues for him later, unfortunately, after his untimely death. I mean, this is Herb Brooks. He's coached the French national hockey team, but he loved to teach, and that's all that mattered. He knew he wasn't going to win anything. So I think overall, he had a real passion for how the game would be developed in Minnesota. Many, many discussions, many calls, maybe even calling to the K-Fan all those years saying, we got to expand, we got to keep going. From St. Cloud State, I mean, he would know where the direction this was going, and to see the numbers of players that have succeeded, gone on, not just, professionally, but from a personal standpoint, have success in their lives. Herb would be very proud of what's been going on here.
Well, I want to go back to something that you had said earlier about finding your niche and finding what you're good at and owning that. What is your niche? What do you really thrive off of when you get the chance to talk about it?
Wow. On the radio or just any time? I mean,
anything.
I think really, I always like to talk about personal relationships, because you just mentioned Herb. I think I've covered so many games over the years, and certainly a lot of them stand out, professionally, amateur, whatever it might be, and they'll always be there. But when it's all said and done, it's the personal relationships that you develop. And I don't necessarily mean friendships, because many times I've had to keep an arm's length from getting close to some of the athletes that I really liked. But I developed relationships, especially a lot of the Viking players back when I started out and kind of grew up with them. But those are the ones that, especially when you get older, you appreciate and you cherish, because the games are come and go, and you kind of get used to watching the new kid on the block, whatever it might be. We just mentioned 3 of them or 4 of them in town that we have right now. But it's the relationship. When I run into someone and go, man, we really had some good times. I worked with Johnny Randall for years and Eddie McDaniel on Rosen Sports Sunday, and just great people, Brad Johnson, all these people that I know I could call and just say, hey, how's it going, man? I hear your kid's doing great. Talk about family, whatever it might be. So that's sort of where I'm at, because, I'm not gonna lie. I still get, fired up. I want to see our teams win. It's been a long drought for pretty much every pro sports team in town. And I don't have the burning sort of, desire that, my life's not going to be complete unless the Vikings win the Super Bowl or the Twins win another World Series with the Wild, get to the Stanley Cup Finals or whatever. But it's mostly about the relationships that have been. I feel so blessed. I still sometimes I have to pinch myself that I was put in this position, hanging out at this WCCO TV as a kid in high school and having this glorious opportunity to have, as I wrote in a book I wrote, the best seat in the house. But it's always about those relationships. Whether it be, like Jerry Kill or PJ Fleck, learning about these people beyond the X's and O's and talking with them and being curious. And that's the one thing that I probably wasn't as good at early in my career as I am as the years went on. Being more curious about some of the people I've been around, really asking kind of different questions. And that's why I'm excited about doing my own podcast now, because I have that opportunity now to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit and talk to people about things that, are far more interesting than necessarily the result of a game.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part of it, right? Like you notice somebody's shoes maybe, or the little things that you can pull and give to fans. Obviously when you had decided upon retirement, you couldn't foresee the world turning into what it has. Are you a little bit grateful then, because so much of those relationships are removed now because we're doing these Zoom calls, right? I don't think any of the new Wild players know any of our faces. Michael Russo and I talk about that all the time because they haven't seen us yet. Are you a little bit kind of grateful that you did pull out in time to still preserve that important part of the career?
Right. I think I would be going crazy right now. I'm sure for the beat reporters, like, the Michael Russos of the world and Lavelli Niels until he became a columnist, whatever. Essentially, baseball has such a relaxed atmosphere before games. You can go in the clubhouse, you can go to the dugout, you go behind the batting cage. And that's the secret to building those relationships like I talked about. And for the Wild reporters, whatever it might be, you just don't have that personal connection. It's really difficult. And from a TV standpoint, I watch all these Zoom interviews, and it's so impersonal. It's so difficult to feel like you're getting through them. You can, I watch them, they're interviewing through a screen and the computer screen, and there's nothing like being there in person. And hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed, we're on the other side of it now. People are going to get their vaccinations. People are going to be returning to Target Field, returning to XL Center in smaller numbers. But, oh my God, how much do we crave that? And I left not only the right time for me professionally, but personally. But yeah, I would be. I don't know what I'd be doing. I'm not enjoying this at all. Having to do all these Zoom calls.
It's awful. I got to tell you, I hate it. I'm like, oh, I can't even just say, hey, instead you're really just that microphone that you try not to be, right? You're like, I just got to ask you this question because it's all we have time for.
I wonder what it's going to look like, don't you? Our teams, I hope the teams will allow, again, to have this personal connection, because it's really kind of getting back to connecting with the fans. This is what all these people do. It's not about just your relationship with them, but it's a way of nuance, kind of interview and questions that you can't get through Zoom. You build up those relationships, and sometimes, you be in the Wild locker room, whatever locker room it is, and the person may not have had a big impact on the game, but you kind of, you have that relationship with them going, hey, what do you think about what's going on with the power play? What's happening with this? Or how do you feel about, and they give you some great quotes, and that's how you develop that. And if you don't have that opportunity because you can't cherry pick who you're going to talk to, it makes your job a lot tougher. And for the fans, they lose out on it as well.
Now, one thing that we haven't talked about yet, hockey, but different side of hockey, the state tournament is coming up. Finally, we got to the point where we get boys and girls state tournament hockey, a little bit different than we normally get to see it, but it's happening nonetheless, which is something to be excited about. One of the best parts of the springtime every single year for us Minnesotans. What are you looking forward to this time around?
Well, again, I think, I get the ding button here because I talked to Manny the other day about it, because he's going to be doing his 50 whatever straight tournament, high school hockey tournament. what I'm looking forward to is just watching the competition. What I feel bad for the kids, not as bad as last year's group because they didn't get to play, is not having that opportunity to skate at the XL Center in front of 18,000 people. I mean, that's a memory you carry the rest of your life because you're, as Herb Brooks said, biggest thrill he ever had was going to the state tournament with his kids he grew up with, because I did it with the guys I grew up with. And this is your one opportunity in life to do it. So having said that, I'm sure there'll be adjustments. You're still sharing that big stage. It's still going to be televised, and it beats the hell out of what we had a year ago, which was nothing. So for all the tournaments, all the state tournaments, this is it for them. For many of them, this is the last time they're going to compete at that kind of a level. So I think it's going to be looking at it's kind of the same. We got some new faces, but I'm looking at the teams that are going back to state, and the rivalries are still there, especially for the smaller schools that come here. I mean, I always had when we did the state high school hockey tournament, it was just 8 teams. And it was beautiful. When you'd have matchup with, Warroad against Edina, or, Roseau against Hill Murray. I mean, it's just the little school, big school thing. And you get a little bit of that once in a while, but not as much. But I think that the fact that these kids get an opportunity to get on the XL ice next week is going to be really, really special for them.
Well, and that's something that's so special about Minnesota, right? I mean, we preach about it. We pump our chests out a little bit because it truly is, like you had said, Mark, it's growing up with these players. That's something that Minnesota hockey really embraces. It's the community-based hockey, and it's so special. And WCCO was such a huge part of making this tournament what it has turned into, right? I mean, again, we talked about it with K-Fan. Did you see the televised Minnesota high school state tournament transforming into what it is today? I mean, it just gets bigger and better every year too.
Honestly, CCO Television, credit to them, my bosses, they spent a whole lot of money for the rights fees, a lot of money back in the day. And when they got it, they didn't just spend it on rights fees. They put all of it into production. And back in 83, 84, whatever it might be, you talk to Mark Parishes of the world, and they go, that's still, he remembers that we did these music videos for all the teams. They did them, actually. We helped produce it for them. But they put together whatever hot song was on the charts. They put together a music video of their school, and people ate it up. It was, but we do these great pieces behind the scenes, and it was magnificent, and we spared no expense. But I think a lot of people were sad when it was over for 8 teams, 8 and done. Kevin Gorg. I mean, I covered Gorg in the tournament. We had some amazing players. Who to this day still recall, and broadcasters who recall. Chris Cuthbert does play-by-play in Canada. He goes, we hired him to do the state high school hockey tournament. He still talks about it as being one of the biggest thrills of his career. So, yeah, I mean, it's still great to watch. And everyone, Channel 45, everyone does a really good job with it. I'm sure they love being a part of it.
And then kind of final question before we let you go. You're a Minnesota sports fan. In addition to having worked all of this, when will we see another championship, and which team is going to bring the championship home? I mean, it kind of seems like they're all in similar stages of rebuild or reshifting, right? I mean, some more than others, naturally, Minnesota Timberwolves. But I mean, I think everybody's kind of looking to make those changes. Which team, professional team, do you see winning a championship first for the state of Minnesota?
Because it's a lot easier to get to the finish line. I would say the Twins probably do, only because you don't, you got to win your division, then you get play up, you don't have as many series to go through. I mean, winning the Stanley Cup's got to be the toughest grind of all. I just, and you watch these teams that get to the finish line, especially going through what they're going through right now, and they're sitting in hotel rooms for four days at a time. Yeah. Boy, the team that wins and has that kind of that extra gear to figure it out is really going to be worthy of the Stanley Cup. We saw some of that last year. So I'd say the Twins first. The Vikings can turn things around quick enough because it doesn't take much. You get the right people back and you get healthy and you get a right draft pick. You got to win 2 games if you get the home field advantage and you're in the big game. So, I mean, I'd say probably Twins, Vikings, Wild, Timberwolves.
That seems fair. I concur with that.
It's always the women's teams holding things down here. The Lynx have a couple championships. The Whitecaps have one. The men's teams are slacking here in Minnesota, and we need them to pick up the pace.
No doubt about it. Many times I have a viewing choice, as we call it, programming predicament. I would much rather watch a Gopher women's volleyball team play because it's a great TV sport. Those women are unbelievable to me. to watch their athleticism. And I think it's a great TV sport. And they're a wonderful program. And that to me is kind of the tops the charts. I mean, we've seen their softball team, and I'd like to see Lindsay Whalen get things turned around a little bit with basketball. But yeah, and then, it's just, yeah, you're right. I mean, Cheryl Reeve's one of my favorite people that I've ever met. I mean, I love that woman and what she's done and how she's used her forum and how empowering the women that were in that run, in particular with the Lynx, Maya Moores and Whalens and Simone Augustus. That was a hell of a run, and the impact they made on our community and the young girls who finally had really good role models to look for, not just on a basketball court, but really, she looks like me, or that girl. I mean, it's like, wow, I think you could see it on their faces going to the games. A great success story for sure.
Heck yeah. And there's plenty of stories, hopefully in the future, of all Minnesota sports. So we'll be sure to check out Mr. Mark Rosen talking about him on KFan with Common or in the morning on Power Trip. Be sure to purchase his book and follow him on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, Mark?
KFan Rosen, I think.
That sounds right. I think we'll go with it. We'll find
you one way or another.
We'll find you one way or another. But again, Mark, thank you so much. We're so happy to claim you as an official beaut now.
Oh, I am honored. I'm so honored that you called and got a hold of me. And thank you for having me a part of it. Continued success, you guys. It's really fun to see.
Heck yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, this is producer Fred. I just wanted to ask everyone to go out there and spread the word about Bardown Beauties. Leave us a like, share, thumbs up, review, you name it, we want to hear from you. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, your favorite podcast app.
We're back. Thanks again to Mark Rosen for joining us. I just love Rosie. I could hang out and chat with him all day long.
I love people who can carry the conversation. It's like, here's one question, now talk for 5 minutes. Tell me everything you know. Those people are the best. You could tell we have had a handful of broadcasters on the podcast, and those ones, they could always carry the conversation. They know exactly how to do it.
Exactly. I'm completely fine sitting back and listening as often as I need to. So
we talk enough on our show. We need them to carry it from time to time as well.
I know. Believe it or not, my husband might disagree, but I do like to keep my mouth shut once in a while. I swear. Like every now and then I like
especially in the presence of someone like Mark Rosen, right? We don't want to steal his thunder. Yeah.
No, of course not. So thank you again to him. Be sure to give him a follow on Twitter. I'm sure you guys all already do, and you listen to him plenty, so you don't need us to tell you that. But let's get into our up for debate, because I love stirring the pot, especially in college hockey. I think that's why I loved college hockey so much, is because, excuse me, as you know, I love to chirp. I love to have these rivalries, and in college, there's nothing like it. That's what's great about the student section. So I have hated the University of Minnesota Duluth because my cousins are big Duluth people. So it's been a constant battle with them. So good lead into our up for debate this week, which was the first Minnesota team, because a reminder, all 5 men's Division I teams are tournament bound, which will be the first Minnesota team bounced out. Alexis, you chose the Gophers, Duluth, and St. Cloud. Right? No. Yes. Those 3. And then Mankato and Bemidji, you guys get a pass. Yeah. Keep going. Do your thing.
Good luck.
Good luck. So those are the 3. Who did you say is out first?
Well, I had to say UMD because I'm a Gopher and a Husky fan. So I've already caused enough issues for myself being a fan of both of those teams. So I got to root against UMD, and not even because I have any beef with them. It's just I want the Huskies to do well. I want the Gophers to do well. So unfortunately I had to go with UMD. I even saw people saying, they were like, you didn't include Bemidji or Mankato. I'm like, well, I only had 3 choices, and I picked.
I didn't want everybody to go for Mankato or not Mankato, excuse me, Bemidji. Everyone's like, Bemidji's out. I like Bemidji. Go Beavers.
Yeah. So it's exciting that we've got all 5 teams in. And I will say this, though, even though I said UMD, that's my heart talking. If you ask my brain what I think, I'm thinking maybe between the 3 choices I put out there, my Huskies, unfortunately. I don't know. I didn't like the way they played against UND. Was that 2 weeks ago now? I just have a little bit more faith in the Gophers to do well than I do the Huskies, and I feel terrible about that. I hope I'm wrong. Heart says UMD, head says Huskies. Maybe
your SCSU alums are gonna come.
I know
they're
coming for me. I know.
As I just said it, and you guys know, I have a long-standing hatred with Duluth. So I'm just kidding. I am kidding, but I am gonna chirp. I'm gonna chirp Duluth. Be sure to check out our Teespring store for our 1-star Don't Chirp Duluth shirts. No, like I said, it goes back to since I was in high school, I have had this running rival with my family over UMD, who are UMD fans, and then I'm a Gopher fan. So I said, the Bulldogs are out. Plus, you've won plenty. Give somebody else a chance. Like,
technically, they're the defending champs, right? We got to root against them. Like, I'm sorry, but we want somebody else to shine. So, I mean, offense, but no offense. UMD.
Yeah, so I'm going to say they're out. I mean, I love Scott Sandlin. I love everything that he has done with that program. I think he's really transformed it, and there's so many players. I mean, go back and listen to Alex Stalock's podcast episode, and he talks all about that. So, no real disrespect to Duluth, disrespect to my cousin Tony, my cousin Karen, and drunk hockey guy Shrek. That is that's really where the beef lies. So you can blame them for my hatred towards
Jesse
Duluth.
just whipped out her shit list, and it was like,
I still get it.
No disrespect UMD, but the rest of you, F all of you guys.
I mean, they give me so much shit constantly. Like, again, so they were in college. They're quite a bit older than me. And so I'm in high school, and they're chirping this little high school girl, and they're all drunk in college. They're like, you suck. And I'm like, the Gophers don't suck, mind you. So, so that's why I chose Duluth. Either way, I mean, at the end of it all, I don't think it's considered a bandwagoner, because I'll cheer for whatever Minnesota school moves on, right? Like,
we're just true Minnesotans. We want Minnesota to succeed. So whoever goes on, congrats. You get us cheering for you, because we just want to see
It's possible
Minnesota
that all of them go out right away, right?
It is. I mean, we can all agree we're rooting against UND, right? I mean, if you want whatever Minnesota team you're rooting for, we're against UND. We can all agree on that, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Boo,
go Minnesota.
UND. Which I know we have a lot of UND listeners too. So.
Do we? Oh, sorry, not sorry, guys.
Not sorry. I'm not sorry. I will never apologize for that one at all. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Again, thank you to our presenting sponsor, SotaStick.com. Be sure and go to our YouTube channel to subscribe and enter to win a $50 gift card. We will be making that announcement this coming week, in fact, and we'll do that kind of every month. So be sure to stay tuned to our social media channels for the different giveaways that we have. Also, BettorEdge.com, BETTOR Edge.com. A great new betting app. They are presenting us as well. And then Talk North, thanks for having us on your airwaves again. We always love to have that, and thanks to all of you guys. We really love it. We reached Siberia. That's amazing. So
shout out to our Siberia listener. Always awesome stuff.
Episode 66, baby. Let's go. We'll be back with more great content to bring you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one. Near.